I just want. Yeah.
What, can we not be talking when we're going live?
Yes.
We're talking. And we're
live.
And we're live.
All right. Leah doesn't want us having a conversation when we become live. She wants it to be.
She's not the culprit.
She wants it to be absolute silence.
I'll take the bullet.
Oh no, I love it when we're walking into a situation about what topic could we possibly be talking about right before Ask Junior. That could be a thing. I could get a sponsor for that actually.
Oh, there you go, Mike.
There goes Mike.
Random topic.
So we are live on our YouTube channel here at Dirty Mo Media, and want to thank you guys for supporting us all year long. We got one more show after this, and then we're going to call it a season. We might be able to put some content together during the winter break, but this is the second to last Dale Jr. Download, and the second to last Ask Junior, presented by Xfinity. And I'm a customer with Xfinity before we ever got the partnership here at Junior Motorsports at Dale Jr. At the Dale Jr. Download and with Dirty Mo Media. I bought their service because it was available to me at this vacation home I have, and it's been great. I'll be honest with you. I've got a couple security cameras and stuff like that I need to always have access to. Our baby cams when we got Nicole and Isla there, and it's never went down. I have other brands that I've worked or used in the past at other locations that are in and out, and they're frustrating. But so far, over the last year and a half, 2 years, I have not had one pause in my service. And we all know how important that can be. Wi-Fi used to just kind of be a luxury, and now it's such a necessity with all the things we have connected that we really, everything we have in our house now, security, baby cameras and TVs and tablets and all the things are now connected through the Wi-Fi. So, anyways, just want to tell you it's a genuine appreciation for Xfinity and what they do for us here. Not only what they do at this studio, but what they do for our sport. When you got a title sponsor for the Xfinity series, anytime you have a title sponsor, those are some of the most important people in our sport. They're putting a ton into it. They believe in the series. We are, we have Junior Motorsports that competes there, so we really appreciate them for everything they do. And you guys have sent in questions every week to Xfinity Racing on Twitter. Leah has compiled them and chosen only her favorites of those questions. And we got some more today.
We do. Our first one coming from Davey Terry. If current drivers were responsible for doing their own setups without engineers or crew chiefs, who do you think would succeed the most?
Davey Terry. I was just sitting there thinking this guy has two first names. What was the question? What was the question again?
If current drivers were responsible for doing their own setups without engineers or crew chiefs, who do you think would succeed the most?
Oh, my. That is a really good question, Davey Terry. That was a really, really good question, all right, because some of the drivers in the sport don't know anything about the current car as far as components. And, I think that when it comes to next year's car, none of us are going to know anything, right, about how to set this thing up or how to make it go fast. I think a lot of the drivers are mechanically inclined. They can take something apart. They can put it back together. They can certainly learn how things work. But as we've went through the last couple of decades, the drivers know less about the cars. They have less input about what they prefer the setup to be like. When Rusty or my dad was driving, they were setting the cars up with the crew chief, right? They were very vocal about what rear springs were in the car, where the track bar might be mounted, or what front sway bar the car had. Oh man, they were Rusty was driving his car during the race and telling them what changes to make. I want you to change this right rear tire pressure. I want you to change the track bar this way. He was calling for his own. He was calling on his own shots throughout the race, and got that's the changes he got. And so you don't have that as much anymore, if at all, right? The drivers really, drivers show up and leave it to the crew and the crew chief, and probably rightfully so. I think that was probably problem for me as I got older, and especially when I started working with Greg Ives. I was too vocal. I was too fixated on past success, things that worked for me in the past, things that I thought, okay, well, I need if the sway bar preload is this, and I have a great run, I want that preload every week. And when it's not there, well, that's why I'm off by a tenth or two. That's where the time is that we need to gain is in this adjustment that I'm fixated on. So I think that the more with the technical race car and the cars getting so complicated, the more the driver sort of lays out and just drives, the better. And it probably gives the crew chief and the engineers more freedom, less distraction. When the driver's chirping in their ear about, I need this, I want that, I think that's better, or this is what I used to run, or this is what we ran last year, this was fast, or this is what my buddy said he's running. Nobody wants to hear that. And so, but to answer your question, sorry, there are some drivers that are pretty mechanically inclined and do understand generally what springs and shocks and all those things do, and it's probably definitely going to be the older drivers that have got a lot of history and experience behind the wheel. So anybody like Truex, Harvick, those type of guys, I think, even Brad Keselowski. Brad's worked on his own race cars all his life. So, I mean, those type of drivers that are up in their, late 30s and 40s are probably going to be the guys that are going to have the most success if they were the ones setting up the race car.
Next question from Cody Grafzu. Do you think there needs to be a stiffer penalty for multiple failed pre-race inspections? Being sent to the rear has proven not to be a disadvantage.
It is a disadvantage. I disagree with that. It absolutely is a disadvantage to be sent to the rear. And, at a lot of races, if not all the races, it's going to probably take away the opportunity to get as many stage points in the first stage as you need or could get. If you qualify in the top 10 and you're a fast race car, you're going to work your way up into the top 5 probably and get some good stage points. Well, if you're starting in the back, you're going to have to get fortunate on some pit strategy and some other things to be able to get up deep into the top 10. Those guys were sent to the back, Chase Elliott or a few of those guys were sent to the back at, a place like Texas. They might just barely reach the top 10, get 1 or 2 stage points in that first stage. That's important, especially later in the season when we're getting down to these elimination rounds. Now, obviously, you're basing, I think, this opinion off of Phoenix alone, right? Chase went to the rear last year because of failed inspections, drove to the front, won the race. He didn't have to worry about stage points, didn't have to worry about trying to finish well in the stages, could pit however he wanted, strategize however he wanted to find his way toward the front, and he did. The 5 car had an issue on pit road, had to come down or change tires early in the race, went to the rear, and goes up and wins the race and the championship. So I think based off of Phoenix, it's not as bad of a penalty as it might be at another racetrack like Texas or Indianapolis, right? Somewhere like that. At the road courses, it's probably a pretty big deterrent. So I don't know that it needs to be any stiffer than it is for the teams. The one thing that I do like is maybe making them start from pit road. Or doing a pass through. We have that penalty. I think they got to have be more egregious or have some more failures or something like that to get that type of penalty. But that might be a way to go. If you don't like it, starting in the rear, maybe make them start from pit road. Once the green flag drops and the field's, as soon as the green flag drops, they can pull out of their pit stall, ease on down pit road, and away they go.
Next question from Mark Rennie. What are your thoughts on the purchase of Dover Motorsports?
Oh, yeah. So Marcus Smith, SMI, has bought basically Charlotte Motor Speedway, all those tracks that they own. That organization has bought Dover Motorsports. And Dover Motorsports owns, obviously, Dover, the racetrack, and Nashville Super Speedway. And, that I think that it's a big, big deal. And what that means, I don't know. I don't have secret information on what Marcus plans to do with Dover and plans to do with Nashville Superspeedway, but they have acquired it, I think, for a very good price. And that gives them not only a little bit of leverage with at Dover, what they can now freely do whatever they want to do with the Dover track, upgrades. What they can change the date, they can not race there, they can go race somewhere else, they can do whatever they want to do, right, with those dates. Same thing for Nashville Superspeedway. They can continue to improve and upgrade that racetrack. I think we had a great experience there this year and should return and should continue to try to give that track a benefit of succeeding. And there's a great footprint there to do that. Obviously, you have the entertainment industry in Nashville that can support it as well, having concerts and stuff throughout the weekend. I think Marcus is really excited about that. Also, there's no secret that the fact that he wants to also get races to the Nashville Fairgrounds. And, how does all that unravel and what does this really mean for those racetracks and for those dates that those racetracks hold? I don't really know. I wish I knew. But it'll be fun or interesting, maybe not fun for everybody, but interesting to see exactly what does happen, with Dover and with Nashville Superspeedway now that they are under Marcus's control. So he's a smart guy. He absolutely has a lot of history in this sport and believes in the integrity of the sport. But he's a businessman. He's going to do whatever's best for their business, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. So hopefully hopefully all the tracks get to play, right? Hopefully all the tracks are part of the sport going forward for a long time.
Next question from Matthew Person. Does Isla know that you're in the movie Cars, and how did you come about getting that part?
Well, they basically, they were, when the movie Cars was coming out, it was the first one, and they were just kind of looking for some of the personalities in the sport to have a little moment here and there. And I've always kind of thought about that. Darrell Waltrip had a predominant role as an announcer, analyst in the Cars movies throughout. That must have been a ton of fun for him, and it really elevated his profile. And so I wish that I would have been able to have a bigger role in the movie, especially now as a dad. That would be really cool because Isla's a big fan of Lightning McQueen. She dressed up as Lightning McQueen this Halloween. And so if I had had a bigger role in the movie, that might have been pretty impressionable on her. But the first few times or first several times that she watched the movie, she didn't connect the dots, and she wouldn't tee up on that voice, right? But now that she's starting to kind of, at least she'll see race cars. We'll drive around. We rode around the race car graveyard in the woods yesterday, and she'll see the 88 or the 8 and go, there's your car. Whether she really understands that I raced it and drove it and what that means, I don't know. But she does see these cars without prompting and say, that's yours. And when she watches the movie now, she hears me talking. She goes, there's Dad. And I've gotten her the little Cars, Dale, I've gotten her the Cars diecast that is the character that I play. And, she's into diecast cars or little Matchbox cars, has a big case full of them. So she's having fun with that, and I think it's neat. But I think that since my Bud car was red and my character car was red, I couldn't have too big a role in the movie because Lightning was red, right? And they wouldn't want that, the lines to get blurred, right? Could there be another red car that had a predominant role in the movie if Lightning McQueen himself was red, right?
Be an interesting dilemma.
It wouldn't be good, I don't think. If I'm the Pixar...
From an identity standpoint, yeah.
Yeah, if I'm Pixar, I'm like, no, we can't have another red car in there playing any kind of significant role. So, but I don't know if that really mattered or that was why I didn't have more of a footprint in the movie.
Next question from Tony Norris. It was pretty cool to see Jeremy Chen sporting a Dale Jr. fire suit headed to the Panthers game the other day. What did you think of that?
It was awesome, and he was wearing one of the crew uniforms. Obviously, he's too big and muscular to fit into my actual driver's uniform, so he had to use one of the over-the-wall guys. But just the idea of him celebrating or honoring me in any way meant a lot to me personally, and I don't know whether he knew much about my career, but the fact, he obviously has probably through this experience learned a little bit about what I was about, and I think it's awesome. Anytime anybody with a high profile like an athlete or an actor or anybody in showbiz or in sports learns about you or mentions you or acknowledges you, it's a good feeling. It really is. And so I really appreciate that. I think he's I think he's celebrating a lot of people that have left their mark or been been predominant in the state of North Carolina. Am I right? I didn't know if it was just Charlotte-based, but in the state of North Carolina, he's sort of honoring, celebrating, acknowledging a lot of people with this season of his, and I was honored and flattered to be included in the people that he wanted to do that for. So, it was a cool thing to see, and I'm now, every time I see that name, I'm going to remember him for that for a very long time.
All right, one more question from Jarrett Scott. What's your favorite version of the point system?
I like the original point system. I don't hate the new one. I'm not. I didn't. This is kind of where I'm at. So I really appreciate the old system. I remember racing throughout the year and kind of understanding who the favorites were and watching it develop throughout the year. All the races were more important. The regular season races that we have now, the 26 regular season races, those would matter much more if it was the old system, because those races would impact you all the way to the very end, where you get into the playoffs and you kind of get to reset, and maybe some of the struggles in the regular season don't matter as much anymore because it's a clean slate. But when the playoffs started, it was a big deal in our sport, obviously. And I think that I was open-minded to it, but we kept changing it. We would add drivers every other year, or every year there was drivers getting added to it. The field of playoff drivers would increase. Then we got elimination races, and then the races themselves there was just a lot of change year after year after year, And I think, something that I learned when I started driving for Budweiser, Budweiser would never let me run too many unique paint schemes, right? And they wanted brand continuity. Remember, Mike?
100%.
They're like, nope, we don't want that car to look different. Right. Now, every once in a while, we run the baseball car or something like that was pretty significant. And it made those special paint schemes or those one-offs much more fun because it was rare that we were going to do them. But Budweiser wanted the fan to look out on that racetrack and easily be able to find that car. And they didn't want that car changing, and they wanted brand identity. They wanted brand continuity. And I believe in that because in my mind, Bud was right.
They were right.
To want that. We have, it's not in control. It's not really anyone's fault, but now the cars change every week, right? You have to tune in a little bit ahead of time to really figure out, okay, what color is my driver's car today, right? He's going to be in a different car because they got different primary sponsors throughout the year instead of just one. So it's not as much in their hands as it used to be. And so as when we start a new thing with this playoffs, we didn't have any brand continuity, no identity. The playoffs kept changing, and how it happened kept changing, and the amount of people to get in kept changing, and it was very, very frustrating. And I lost a lot of pride in it. I lost the importance of it. I lost a lot of belief in it. Right, my passion for this whole sport and love for it waned a little bit in those moments when the playoffs kept bouncing around from this and that and the other. Well, we found a little continuity here lately, right? It's kind of sustained as far as the field size and the elimination and how it happens, how it plays out, has had a little bit of continuity, and I like that, and I want that, and I think we're building some identity. We're building equity in the system now, right? Now that it's sustained and found some stability, right? Am I right?
I think you're 100% right. It's making me want to ask you another question.
Go.
Though. What do you think about changing the final race venue?
I'm okay with that.
Like the identity, because see, I never liked Homestead, and then all of a sudden when we did it over and over again, Homestead became like the final place. And then they moved it to Phoenix, and I'm like, I don't think I like this. But now I'm digging it, but I bet as soon as I really go all in, it'll change something else.
Yeah.
And then that's the kind of stuff that you're talking about. Like, it's like I don't have enough time to really find the appreciation in something before it's gone.
Yeah.
And,
Well, I hear what you're saying, Mike, and I miss Homestead being in the mix, right? And next year with the schedule, we go there later in the playoffs, and I think that's going to be a great fit for Homestead. I think that track needs to matter. Mm-hmm. It was sort of an afterthought being placed at the beginning of the year like it was when we moved away from there. It's kind of thrown into the first half of the year, and we just kind of went through the motions. When we went out there in the spring to race there, obviously with the pandemic, it was a weird vibe. Nobody was there, but it didn't feel as important. It felt like we had turned our back on it, right? I know that's not what NASCAR did, but that's how it felt, like it had been cast aside. But now it's going to be placed late in the season. I think Homestead's going to be a great, great stop on the schedule next year. I can't wait for it to have be an impact and an important moment in the season, and it will. And then, but right now, I love where we are with Phoenix. I know that last year or last couple of years, the way the race went at Phoenix has caused some conversation about us changing that date or moving to another place because the vibe wasn't there, but this year it was.
They earned it, man. Yeah. I heard, I wasn't out there, but I heard that everywhere you went in town, like you knew that the NASCAR championship was there that weekend. You knew they were in town. So,
yeah.
Anyways.
Anyways, I answered the question, but I like what we're doing, and I hope that we can stay this way for a little while. I'm not saying we need. I think as far as the points, how we add them up, the elimination, all the factors, the size of the field, let's just stay this way for a little bit. Build some equity, build some brand identity in it, some continuity, so fans are now understanding what to expect and what drivers need to do, and we can carry this on for a while and learn to. I'm really liking where we are, right? I think it's too late to go back, so let's just stay where we are for a while and work on this and create some value here.
All right, that's it for today.
All right, y'all. I mean, that's some really, really good questions, and I had a lot of fun thinking about all those things, and it's going to be weird though. Going into next year, we got a brand new car. We talk about the next gen. That's what this entire podcast today is about, is the next gen car. So we got Eric Warren coming in here. We got Austin Dillon coming in here. He's tested the car, and the car's development, a lot of it's happened at Richard Childress Racing, where Austin is. So he's in and around the conversation of the car and its development throughout the last year. So we're going to talk a lot about the next gen car and NASCAR's future in this show. We got one more Dale Jr. download after today, and it's a doozy. We got a big guest coming in, and one that I know everybody's going to be thrilled to hear. So we're going to end this season strong, and then we're going to take a little winter break. And I hope everybody has a great week. Thank you to Xfinity. Thank you guys for supporting us and sending in all these great questions all year long. And we'll see you next week.